Hey everyone, welcome to JavaScript Fundamentals. In this video, we will learn about closures and a scope chain. Well, in simple word, closure is a function bundled with its lexical environment. We will learn more about this using some examples. In JavaScript, where data is being stored, we can segregate that into two parts: stack and heap. So in stack, things like number, string, references are being stored, boolean. And in heap, object, array, function, this sort of thing are being stored. And stack will only store reference of object being stored in heap, reference of array, reference of object, reference of functions. Alright, so let's go through this example. So here first of all, global execution context would be there, in which we will have apple, well, is apple would be here, the definition only, and there would be a reference which will point it to that, similar to is banana. There would be an actual function here, and so when we call this function is banana here, so in the stack we will have a new context related to its banana, in which there is a function called apple. So now let's understand using graphics. The stack, and heap. So in the stack, first of all, global execution context would be pushed. We name it as in the 0th element, like execution context 0, we say it is global execution context. All right, so the element will have two sections: code and data. So the code part would be like function definitions, things like is apple, is banana sort of thing, right? So as we already know, the actual function implementation would belong to where it is stored, it is a heap, right? and only its reference would be there in a stack. And in the data part, we will have, in global education context, we are having our variable called apple. With its value is also apple, and we will have reference to its parent. Well, global education context is the global education context, obviously, so it will not have any parent, so we can count it as null. And in the next element, there it would be related to is banana. So the education context 1, it will also have two part, data and code. Well, code, there is no function inside is banana, so obviously there would be nothing inside code, but there would be apple equals banana here in the data part, and reference of its parent scope in the scope from where it's belong to. All right, so it's belong to education context 0, so we will point to this, right? And so now at the very end, the last element will be related to is apple. So education context 2, it will also have code and data. Well, both sections would be empty, so the last section would be in the data part, the reference in which global which context is parent of this execution context. So its parent is global execution context, so reference would be of this, right? So it will also refer to this. All right, so when we will execute this code, so now when we will execute this console log apple, so what it will do, first of all, it will check in its context, that is context number 2, is there any variable called apple or not? We are not having any variable called apple in this context, so now it will, through this reference, it will check to its parents. Well, in its parents function, context, that is global execution context only, so it will got the variable named apple, and with which value is also apple, so it will return that value, and that's the reason this apple will print apple, right, not banana. So we will also understand using some another examples also. So now let's focus on this example. So let's draw a stack. The stack and this would be heap. So The very first execution context would be global execution context, very obvious, the 0th one. So it will have code and data, two sections. Code would be, like it in the global execution context we have foo. So foo would be refer to the function being stored in heap. And in the data part we will have x equals to 10, and since it is first element, so obviously the reference would be null, right? The next element in the stack would be, here we are in the global execution context when it will be getting started executed one by one. So it is the first thing that is being called, it is foo. So this foo function will be executed. So there would be data, there would be code. So in foo there are two functions, bar and bool. Okay, obviously it would be a reference to the function, which definition will be stored in the heap. And in the data section we will have b equal to 20, and there would be one more thing called a reference, and this would be means in which this function's execution context actual present inside which context. So this would be inside global execution context, so it will refer to this, right, this one. So now let's draw the another element. It would be related to this. More. So more, actually this more would be the reference of this bar. All right, so we will have data, we will have code. Bar has nothing in the code section, but in the data section it has t equal to 30. Well, reference to parent, in which who is its parent? Obviously foo is its parents, right? So yeah, this one. So for now this bar will called book, right, with all its summations. So how it will work basically? So first of all, this x will be checked inside bar execution context, which is this. Under this we didn't find, we have only one thing, that is d equal to 30. So for x it will check again, so using its reference to its parent it will check in this. Okay, so here again it will not find, it has only b equal to 20. So through this reference it will check to its parent, that is global execution context. There we got x equal to 10, and it will return, and there will be have value of x. And for a it will x similarly search in first of all here. It will not find, then it will search here, and then obviously in foo we will have, right? Sorry to mention, this is a which is present in foo equal to like 5, right? So it will return. So in this way it will check. So first of all, it is checking its own lexical environment. Afterwards, it's in its parent lexical environment. Afterwards, again its parent's lexical environment. In its actually it was physically defined. So that is called scope chain. So now let's conclude what we learned. We learned about closure, we learned about a scope chain, and in simple word, when an inner function is invoked, JavaScript searches for variables within its own scope first, and if a variable is not found, then it's continue to search in the captured scope chain, right, including the outer function scope. All right.